Today we are reviewing issue number 13 of Mighty Morphin Power Rangers Boom Studios comic. So without further ado, let's get into it. Right off the bat, guys, I have to tell you, I probably say this every review, but man, this was such a good read, such a fun read, and now you're going to see exactly why. So we start off with Rita Repulsa and Goldar and Finster. You know, they're at Rita's lair, her castle, whatever, and it picks up where it left off in the last issue, where Rita said she was going to make a better Goldar, and so we see that that's exactly what they're doing. So we see that that's what they're working on in this kind of opening sequence of the comic, and so Goldar is kind of stuck with Finster to kind of assist him as they go through this process of making this better Goldar. So it continues on, and Finster, he's kind of looking for some other tools that he needed. There was like some extra stuff he was looking for the project that he was working on. There's something very interesting that he finds that's going to be very sinister down the road. So that's all I'm going to say on that, because we're going to come back to that piece. Then it flashes back to Billy and Tommy, where it left off at the last issue, where Billy and Tommy, they are encountered by Aisha, Trini, and Bulk, which is confirmed. Because when we looked at the picture last time, I was like, I'm pretty sure that that's Bulk, based off of the picture. So yes, it is Aisha, Bulk, and Trini. And, they've kind of got them, captured. They're taking them to their base. And, Tommy and Billy, they're like, look, we are who we say we are. Why can't you just let us go? Well, why don't you guys believe us? And they're like, Trini and Aisha, they're like, it's not up to us to believe you. That's up to somebody else. And Billy and Tommy, they're like, well, who are you talking about? And Aisha, she's got Saba in her hand. And Saba's like, a completely understandable reaction, Aisha. And, she's like, well, how do we know that Lord Drakkon didn't, wiretap Saba, to say something like that? I mean, Saba's been, missing since, the fall of the Rangers, that event that happened a while ago. Saba's been missing for years. So, they don't know if they could even trust Saba and, this other Tommy and Billy. So there's a lot of, things that they're questioning. It goes on, flashes on, and we get to see Zach Taylor, and he seems to, it looks like he's kind of the leader of the coinless resistance, and so Zach, he's kind of the one who who will kind of give truth to if Billy and Tommy are actually who they say they are. And so the way he does it is, he asked Saba a question, and he asked Saba, like, hey, what was it that you told me the last time I seen you? And Saba, says to Zach, I told you I would return one day with those who would save this world. As promised, I've returned, Zach. And so, Zach chooses to trust these guys, Billy and Tommy, and, orders to, let them be released from their shackles, and, welcomes them into their base, and, tells them to get cleaned up, because there's a lot of stuff that they have to go over. And Aisha and Bulk, they're like, are you sure we should trust these guys, Zach? Are you sure this is the right move? And, Zach is counting on it, and he's, having faith that these guys are who they say they are. And so Billy and Tommy, they seem to be astonished. They walk into, like, this big, like, cave entrance that leads into this, looks like an underground base, where the coinless resistance seem to be living. And so it just continues on. Now Billy, he sees this world's or future's Trini, whatever it is, him, Billy's, trying to conversate with her, and, he can kind of tell, like, something's up with her. She seems like she's, really emotional or really down or somewhat angry, and Billy's like, hey, are you okay? And she's like, I'm fine, Billy. And then, the issue continues on. It swerves over to Lord Drakkon, and he's talking. This is where it gets really cool. We see Lord Drakkon, and he's with the Sentinel Rangers. We've seen that picture recently that was released this past week, and so we get to see like it's more of an army where it looks like these Sentinel Rangers, and some of them are generals, some of them are like foot soldiers or, stormtrooper kind of people, you know what I mean? So we see different levels, I guess you could say, of these Sentinel Rangers, who are all basically just servants in Lord Drakkon's army. One of the Mastodon Sentry, Rangers, tells Lord Drakkon, hey, we can't find the Falcon Zord. It seems that they've cloaked it somehow. And Lord Drakkon says it doesn't matter. He knows exactly where they're heading. He has a pretty good idea that they're headed to the Coinless Resistance. And so even though now Lord Drakkon is pretty ticked off because they let Billy and Tommy get away, and I guess this was under the order of one of the Yellow Rangers who works for him, and to demonstrate his power and his frustration, he revokes her powers, and it looks painful, like her powers are stripped away, and it looked pretty crazy. So he takes that Yellow Ranger's powers away and orders for the rest of them to get rid of her, and kind of sets an example, I guess, for others. And then we see Scorpina. She shows up, kind of speaks to that as well, very interesting leadership style, Oliver. And Lord Drakkon, he tells her pretty quickly, not to call him by that name. Definitely seems like Lord Drakkon doesn't, want anything to do with his past life or obviously the name Tommy Oliver. Anytime it's mentioned, he says that, that's just a weaker version of himself. He just doesn't want any association with that name. And Scorpina, she as she pops up in this scene, she's like, ever since I came to this world, I just want you to know, I only serve the actual Empress, the true leader. Lord Drakkon and Scorpina, they continue to converse, and he tells her, hey, the Empress in your world, we will make sure that she takes over that world just like she did here. And then Scorpina, and then Lord Drakkon says, but first there is this one issue of the Rangers. And then Scorpina says, you mean the issue of you? That's again where we see Lord Drakkon. He says, he has nothing but a weak, corrupted, pale imitation. Your universe's grave mistake. Talking about himself, Tommy Oliver. And we see once again that he just, wants nothing to do with that association of Tommy Oliver. And then it flashes over to this picture, man, where we see it's not just the Mastodon Sentry that, is the army of Lord Drakkon, because that was the interpretation that I had. I thought it was just them, but, with the recent picture that we've seen with the Sentinel Rangers, and now we see, there's this huge army. I mean, it could be, thousands of, Rangers who are, working under the leadership of Lord Drakkon. And we see that here, man, it's going to be a big war whenever they fight the Resistance. So I'm wondering, man, how many people are actually in the Coinless Resistance, because this looks pretty intense and crazy. And so, continuing on, we see Skull. He's actually working, under Lord Drakkon, and, he says, hey, it looks like something big is about to happen. And, one of the other guys, who's working, kind of looks like they're more, kind of lower guys or doing, maybe some type of tech work. I don't know. And they say, yeah, it looks like Lord Drakkon's finally found the Coinless. And, Skull definitely seems surprised about that. But keep a note onto that. Skull, it's also mentioned later in this comic that, it seems like he's undercover, as he's working, in Lord Draken's team. So he seems to be more undercover than anything else. Issue, and then it flashes back to the Angel Grove that we know of in this comic, where the Rangers they're still trying to work on bringing Billy and Tommy back. And they're still trying to figure out how to bring, Zordon back or get in touch with Zordon. And so, Trini, she's working relentlessly. And, Kim, she's, doing her best to kind of be of support, to Trini as she's working on all this tech stuff. But Trini just continues to, work hard and figure out, the best way to get in touch with, someone, rather Zordon or, Billy and Tommy, figure out what the heck happened. And then, in the midst of this, Zach and Jason, they continue to train, and, they still are in that green color, because of, Tommy's coin. So they don't have their original powers, but they can only morph, and tap into the morphing sequence. Or they can only morph and tap into the morphing grid through Tommy's coin. So that's why they're still, obviously in their green color, which is pretty cool to see that this depiction of them as well. And the boys, they're training, they're sparring. It's kind of their way of blowing off steam. Kind of, getting some stress out. As they see how Billy and Tommy's parents are affected. That's mentioned, because the boys have been missing for a little while now, and it's affecting their community. And then we get this moment with Kim and Jason where they're talking to each other. Kim, she asks Jason if he's okay, and once again he says, yeah, I'm fine, but I definitely see how this whole situation is affecting Billy and Tommy's parents. And, it just sucks because they can't do anything about it, They're kind of just playing this waiting game and figuring out, what's the next move to make. And Jason, he starts questioning his leadership. Then Kim goes on to say, hey, everyone is doing the best that they can. None of us are perfect. And given the situations, we're all just making the best possible moves that we can as a team. And then it goes on, Jason, he asks her, you like him, don't you? Referring to Tommy. And, Kim, she's like, yeah, I think I do. The more so emotional, attraction that she has, with Tommy is really being brought up to the surface. With Billy and Tommy being missing, you see that there's, the relational piece that kind of comes into there. And I was almost wondering if there was going to be like some type of love triangle going on here in a moment, with Jason and Kim, but they didn't do that, obviously. But I was just wondering if that was where that might take off to. As Kim and Jason, were conversing. They get a message, from Alpha, and Alpha's communicating now with the Rangers, and Alpha's been, out of the blue and missing, for some days now. They haven't heard from him, and so Alpha, contacts the Rangers, and they're very excited just to hear from him. And Alpha, tells the Rangers exactly, how they can retake the command center and possibly even get in touch with Zordon and get their powers back. And so the Rangers are, excited to hear about this news. They're definitely paying attention to it. So hold on to that, because then it flips over back into the world of Lord Drakkon. That's where we see Billy. He's kind of just, snooping around, looking around. He sees a bunch of books and stuff. And then it goes to this picture where we see In Loving Memory, and we see a picture of Billy, morphed up in his Blue Ranger gear. Apparently, the Billy of their world died, some time ago. And then, Billy and Trini, he sits down with her and he says, how did it happen? And he's like, I've read the books and, looked through the pictures, and nothing says exactly what happened. And, he assumes, that she knows. And she tells Billy, hey, the Billy of our world, he died a hero. During the battle, Billy sacrificed himself to save Trini. And that was pretty, surprising, for Billy. He's like, definitely a hard hit, and definitely some a heavier kind of tone as you read through this comic. And like definitely you feel the heart in it, which is pretty cool, man. I love how it takes that turn and has more of that. It has this darker tone to it as I read through these comics, man. It's fantastic. And then continuing on as they talk about that crazy battle that happened with Lord Drakkon. We see the image where he's fighting off the Rangers. Trini says he was taking them off one by one. So Zach, it flashes to back with Zach and Tommy. Tommy, is when Zach are conversing, and Zach tells him a little bit about, the fall of the Rangers, and, about how Saba said he would return with those who would save this world. And Zach says it's been hard trying, we've lost a lot of good people, but really, what choice do we have? And then, as they're conversing, Bulk, he busts in, and he's like, hey, Lord Drakkon knows where we're located. He's mounting a huge attack. Skull got a message. He says they're planning to, and then like, boom, we hear, there's this like loud, explosion or something. And so, going back to earlier, when I was talking about Skull, this is that moment where we see, that he was, actually undercover. He seems to be working somehow under Lord Drakkon, or maybe he's just got a job or something, and he's got to do what he's got to do to survive. I don't know exactly what Skull's role is, because I've seen like the Mastodon Sentry, in his area, but nonetheless we see that Skull seems to kind of be someone who's kind of spying out in Lord Drakkon's area. That way he can give word to the Coinless Resistance. Then, we see Zach say it's too late, and we see all these ships flying, towards, the Coinless Resistance, and it is about to go down, man. It is about to be crazy. So then it flashes back to the Rangers in the Angel Grove that we know of, and they take the information that Alpha gives them, and they're like, all right, great, we're gonna go do this. We're gonna go get our powers back. We're gonna take back the command center. And then Alpha, we don't see Alpha, but we hear Alpha's voice. However, Alpha is communicating with them, and he says, oh, Rangers, this is so exciting. I can't wait. Then it flashes over. This is that part where I was telling you to remember Finster, when, he found something that was very intriguing to him earlier in this comic. It was Alpha, Alpha's head, the robotic head of Alpha, and he tapped into the voice of Alpha to communicate with the Rangers. So everything that they thought was Alpha, that in that moment where they were conversing with Alpha, it was actually Finster telling them what to do, and the Rangers now believe that. And as it flashes over, we see that Rita has like created this army of like Goldars. They look like massive, and there's like a bunch of them now. So it seems like the Rangers, I don't know what's gonna happen next, honestly. It's gonna be crazy, but now we've got this army of Goldars. The Rangers in Angel Grove have, they seem like they're deceived. They don't know that, Finster is actually behind this plan, and they're about to get hit hard by this army of Goldar. So who knows what is about to happen. This issue was crazy, and I can't wait to read the next one. As you continue on, you get a little comedic relief with Squat and Babu, the ongoing misadventures of Squat and Babu. That just know that that's after the main segment of this issue. But man, holy crap, this issue, I say this every time, but I mean it. I love the darker tone that these comics have, or a more serious tone. And I love the storytelling direction that Boom Studios is choosing to take with these comics. I think it's engaging, it is fun, and it's so cool to have something so familiar but have a bit of a twist to it, and I think that's refreshing for these Power Ranger comics. So guys, if you've read Mighty Morphin Power Rangers issue number 13, let me know your thoughts. What did you think about it? Did you like it? Did you hate it? Whatever. I enjoyed it. Obviously you guys know I'm a huge Power Ranger fanatic, so I'm all over that. So yeah, guys, make sure you like this video, share it out, and also if you're new to my channel, make sure you subscribe, as I will always have new content coming out every week. So until next time, guys, thank you so much. Peace.